For us who don't speak in like zeros and ones, right? We know that we're all biased as humans, that we understand. AI is created by humans, right? So it's coding, right? Do I have that right? It's code, right? So how are we, I think what makes me feel good is we're always gonna need humans to kind of qualify how we use it and what parameters are built around it, but there's always gonna be some bias even in AI. No matter how much, even some of the inclusive language that we use today. Every other day we're changing the terms for DEIB and, what are the new titles now? And, everything that's happening with affirmative action. First it was right, now it's still right, but it's wrong. So I guess, what can you tell us to help us sleep at night? Because AI is taking over, and to Peter's point earlier, we just have to keep up with it. But it's not without worry and without its risk. So I guess my very long-winded question is, isn't it still biased? For as much as we try to create those parameters, that the garbage we're getting it from the internet, and so whoever wrote that data on there is also biased. I'm having such a hard time really, understanding your chicken and egg, right? Is that a question?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go back to the framework of it's useful, it's powerful, and it's scary. And then I'll go to another framework that I try and think about this and put it in context as well. If you think of medicine, the internet, and knives, okay? They're all useful, powerful, and scary, right? If you have a chef that's using a knife in the right way, in an appropriate way, you can have a fantastic meal, dinner, so on. The internet has been used in many different ways as well, and medicine, as we've all seen with, let's take the epidemics that we see today with the pharma companies. So there is definitely risks. I think that there will continuously, as we mentioned, because programmed by humans, bias, but it's going to extrapolate. So this is why I believe what we're doing is pretty important by embedding that into your processes of being inclusive. And I'm with you, there's so many acronyms, so many terms, so many things for people to remember. So how do we simplify it? And I think I always give this example of a party. You have a party, you invite people to the party. Do they feel like they're welcome or not? Do they feel like they're included or not? Is your party a company? If your party is a company, yes. You bring people in, do they feel included? How do you then alleviate, again, that bias by saying, no, you can't come into this party because you're this, this, and this? So I think it's not going to solve all of the problems. It's going to extrapolate in one direction or another. And that could be a positive or a negative direction, so it depends on who's in control of it. But I think we should all be aware of it.
Yeah, we have one more question.
Hi everyone, can you guys hear me? Okay, Angela with My Space. So question around utilizing some best practices in the lens of a contingent workforce program manager amongst 150 different suppliers, right? How do you take some of these principles and look to potentially not replicate it, but perhaps, have it evolve into a program with a workforce that isn't directly your own employee? Any feedback on that?
Yeah, great question. I think some of the principles we talked with about understanding your data, so starting with even the talent pools that you're going after and how does that kind of help with some of the equitable outcomes you're looking to achieve, so that can be part of it. I think EO reporting can also be a really helpful one of understanding, especially as companies are starting to use AI, how is that changing the dynamic of who comes back into your systems, and then is that matching the outcomes you're wanting to achieve, or does that actually start to suggest maybe different sourcing strategies or different tactics that need to be taken to kind of hold more accountability there? And I also think there's a lot of power in the human audit as well, having conversations around how things are evolving, how it's progressing against your strategies, and what adjustments need to be made. one of the best things our data science team does is they often tell us, not everything has to be solved with an algorithm. Like there's actually sometimes just very good power and some kind of logic-based requirements that gets you 90% of the way there. So also, sometimes this conversation might feel like the solutions need to be more sophisticated than they do. I think awareness is such a big part of it. Like that's a great place to start, and data is a great place to start, and then you can see how things adjust from there and make the right kind of trade-offs as you do.
We have one more question?
Lisa, we do have 2 minutes left, and I know you need to close this out, so,
Go ahead.
yeah. We're okay.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Rock of CSL Barron. I'm actually on the procurement side, but I understand this candidate experience and how important it is. I'm also a mom of 16-year-old twin boys, and I know that they don't care if there's a human on the other side. And are we thinking about that when we're doing AI? Because the way I'm thinking about it is AI is going to have to advance too to meet the candidate experience, which I believe is going to change dramatically because of how, these kids are growing up these days. That sounded really old. They're growing up in a place where they're okay with a computer sending them a message that says you got the job, show up on Monday. Or never show up and your computer's running. So just a thought about that.
I'll just add one point to that. So, a little bit to Jess's point around, it doesn't all have to be solved by an algorithm. And to Melissa's question around like, are we biased or are we not biased? If you just think of AI, it's artificial intelligence, so it's an extension of humans. So you could argue, even if an AI is responding, there's been human input to that as well. So I think being aware of that is going to be really important in the future. Who's actually responding? Is that a human or is it not? And are you okay with that? But I think you're right. Like the kids of today, they're not really content. So.
You all, thank you so much for attending and spending this time with us. Thank you so much to Jess and Marcus who have taught us a tremendous amount. We'll be around if you have continued questions. And we're going to close out by telling you what else is coming up this afternoon.
Next up we have our